The Biden administration is taking new steps to address the growing crisis at the U.S. Mexico border. In a memo obtained by CBS News, shelters have been given the directive to expedite the release of some children who have a parent or guardian willing to care for them in the states. Now, the order comes as more than 15,000 unaccompanied children wait in U.S. custody. Manuel Bojorquez is just south of the border in Juarez, Mexico, and joins us now with more. Manuel.
Anne-Marie, every day we watch as people try to cross into the United States. Some are looking to turn themselves into Border Patrol, hoping they can ask for asylum. Others are trying to evade those agents. And the youngest are caught in a humanitarian crisis.
This Guatemalan boy, believed to be about 6, was seen walking alone along the train tracks, crossing from Juarez into the United States. Many unaccompanied minors like him, who the Biden administration has allowed to stay while their cases are processed, end up in overcrowded facilities like this one in Donna, Texas. The administration plans to convert a convention center in San Diego into a 5th shelter to house migrant children.
This just shows how completely ill-prepared the Biden administration was for what's turned out to be an overwhelming tidal wave of the number of migrants who are coming across the border.
Republicans are demanding access to the minors who are being held. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is leading a group of senators to the border on Friday.
They're hoping nobody sees the tragic human cost of their failed policies.
Meanwhile, senior Biden administration officials are traveling to Mexico and Guatemala to discuss with government officials ways to reduce the number of migrants traveling to the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris said the administration inherited serious challenges.
We've got to treat this issue in a way that is reflective of our values as Americans and do it in a way that is fair and is humane. But we have to meet the moment, and there's a lot of work going into that.
On Monday, we met this Honduran family who had sought asylum in the United States after 2 hurricanes slammed the region last year. They had just been expelled from the U.S. I feel worried because you have a fear of being out on the streets, sleeping on the streets, he said.
Some families say they are fleeing threats of violence in their home countries. Others simply that the pandemic has decimated their towns and work opportunities. The Biden administration says most families will not be allowed to stay. Anne-Marie?
So yesterday, President Biden dispatched a team to Mexico and Central America to figure out a, quote, humane solution to the crisis, obviously going to the locations where they believe many of these migrants are fleeing from. Just what do we know about the plan that the Biden administration has?
Well, their goal would be to reduce the number of migrants making their way dangerous journeys into the United States via Mexico. So one of the things the president has said is that he would like to reestablish the policy where people can seek asylum in their home countries. And he hopes that would prevent people from making this journey. But that, of course, all remains to be seen. What can be brokered with these countries, Mexico and Guatemala, in terms of trying to prevent people from leaving? There's so many push factors, as they're called: climate change, poverty, and now the pandemic. And so they're looking to discuss ways to alleviate some of those problems.
And, you know, of course, all of these migrants are coming from sort of all over, but they end up in Mexico. So can you give us a little more insight into what's happening in Mexico, how the government there and authorities there are dealing with this?
Well, one of the things the Mexican government has said it would do, and it's something that we saw during the Trump administration, is to beef up its presence at its southern border. And we were there in Tapachula, just over from Guatemala before, where the same approach was tried, really, by the Mexican government there. And what that really means is sending in some of their military and other armed forces to beef up the checkpoints that they have in the area, look for cars that are full of migrants, and try to quickly turn them around.
So, of course, these are people who are desperate, and they believe that getting into the U.S. is really sort of a matter of life and death for them. You've been talking to migrants, hearing their stories. You know, can you tell us a little bit of what you've heard?
You know, we've heard, as we've mentioned, so many of the reasons that they are fleeing, and in many cases they have their children with them, and they say, I'm doing this for my child or my children, trying to save their lives if there are threats against the family for whatever reason where they are coming from. They said, many, that the policy changes in the United States were less of a factor than what they were fleeing from back home. And it's important to note that, yes, there are a lot of people who have freshly arrived here at the border trying to get into the United States, but the Remain in Mexico policy that was implemented by the Trump administration has left thousands of people on this side of the border who have been waiting for longer than a year and 3 months. One Guatemalan family we spoke with who are still hopeful, living at a shelter here, that they may at some point be able to make a plea for asylum in the United States.
Wow. I can't imagine sort of the uncertainty of their future, crossing their fingers, hoping that there's some sort of policy adjustment that will help them out. Manuel, thank you so much.